Hello, 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 everybody, hello. I know there's good food in the back, but can you hear me back there? In the back, everybody can hear me. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to kick this thing off. I'm Philip Denny. I'm the director of the Big Ideas Contest. I've been managing the contest since 2008, but the contest started way back in 2006 when it was just a UC Berkeley student innovation competition. But over the years, we've seen the competition expand to this year where we have 11 campuses now competing in Big Ideas. So it's really exciting. And this year was by far the most exciting, most competitive pre-proposal round we've ever seen. Just by way of numbers, you who are sitting here, the students and the teams that are here in the audience today, emerged, 70 teams here, emerged from a pool of over 300 proposals, nearly 900 students participating across those teams from 11 different campuses across the US and even internationally now in Uganda. We have Makerere University in Uganda who may be tuning in, although it's, I think, 4 a.m. in the morning their time. So we're really excited. This is just a great group of projects, and we're excited to see how they will develop over the next 3 months. As you know, you're moving into that final proposal stage, but before you get there, you should give yourselves a big round of applause for being one of those 1 in 5 teams that made it this far. So congrats. I also want to thank all the mentors who are here tonight, all the mentors who may be looking at us on webcast because we're live streaming this event, for their participation, for the teams that are in other campuses like LA, Davis, and Uganda. But thank you, mentors, for your time, for your willingness to support these teams, for your commitment. We cannot thank you enough. We have a network in Big Ideas of over 1,300 judges and mentors who commit their time. And one of the things I always want to impress upon the teams is that this relationship, this mentor relationship that you're going into over the next 6 weeks, it's really incumbent upon you to take that initiative to make sure that you're reaching out to your mentor, scheduling those meetings, being accessible to them on their time and accommodating their demands because they're busy professionals. They're volunteering their time because they get inspired by students, they get inspired by your innovation, and they love to help the next generation of change makers and pay back perhaps the mentorship that they got in previous years. So just make sure you're accommodating of their time and you're using their time well. I also want to thank our sponsors. We have some key sponsors. The Center for Information Technology Research in the Interest of Society, the longest acronym ever, is next door, but they sponsor our Connected Communities category along with the ASUC here at Berkeley. We have the Autodesk Foundation, which sponsors our Hardware for Good category, and the Jacobs Institute next door is very helpful in helping us manage that competition as well. We have support from USAID for our global health category and some of our other categories, and that's been an incredibly valuable partnership to us. It's helped to connect us with a lot of these mentors and judges who can assess proposals that have poverty and inequality focused. And last but not least, we have this year a really new exciting partnership, and that's with the Rockefeller Foundation, who stepped in recently, and they believe in our vision, they believe in the methodology that Big Ideas has been honing for the last 10 years. And we're going to be, over the next few years, expanding the competition to other colleges in the US and even internationally. So what that means for all of you is that this competition, as you continue to grow with it, will build in prominence. You'll have a bigger network to draw upon. And the source of that network, or sort of the people you can get in touch with to tap into that network, is myself, our program manager, Adrian Chuck, who you all know because you've been emailing with her left and right, and Francis Gonzalez, who's our network manager in the back. He's been helping us recruit all of the judges and mentors who support this effort. But again, this is just an exciting time. I'm looking forward to getting to know all you even better. We met many of you in the pre-proposal round. I hope to meet all of you again in the full proposal round over the next 6 weeks. And just good luck. And if you need anything over the next 6 weeks, please call on myself, Adrian, or Francis, and we will be here to help you. But tonight, the agenda is that Adrian will give you a kickoff, tell you what is involved in the full proposal round. She'll tell you all the nuts and bolts and everything you need to know. She'll give you our contact information in case you need to reach out to us. And then Francis will give some key tips on mentorship in the process that you'll be going through over the next 6 weeks, and just tell you some of the tips that we've learned over the past decade and a little bit more about how to manage that mentorship relationship really effectively. So thanks again, congrats again, and I'll turn it over to Adrian.
Hi, everyone. So I would just like to second everything that Philip said. 70 teams out of over 300 pre-proposal applications is a huge deal. You should all be really proud of yourself. So why don't we just give yourselves a round of applause right now? So for anyone who is tuning in online, so most of you know that we're open to 11 campuses. Some folks are tuning in from Southern California and maybe Uganda, but probably not. And then our mentors are all over the world too. So if anyone is tuning in online and you have a question you'd like to ask or you would like to participate, just email your question to bigideas@berkeley.edu and we'll be going through our email as the event goes. And we'll be sure to answer those questions that you have as well. For all of you, nobody likes to kind of talk in front of a group of 140 people, so let's make this as interactive as possible. If you have questions, I guarantee somebody else in this audience has questions. We have a lot of first-time mentors in the room too, so please, let's just be open with our communication and really just kind of kick this off with a lot of energy. I know it's a Sunday night. Thank you all for being here. We have a big week ahead. You have a big 7 weeks ahead, and we'd like to just kick this off with a lot of enthusiasm. If you do have a question, just raise your hand, and either Philip, Francis, or I will come around with a mic and make sure that that your question is being broadcasted online as well. So with that, do you guys have any questions? All right, so I would like to actually see how many mentors are in the room right now. So if you're a mentor, could you just raise your hand? Wow, that's incredible. So if you're a first-time mentor, could you keep your hand raised? Very cool. Well, welcome to the Big Ideas family. How about maybe if you've mentored or judged in the past for at least 1 year? Yeah. 2 years? 3 years? 4 years? 4 years maybe? Okay, well, fantastic. So one of the great things about our program, as Philip mentioned, is it's all about kind of giving back. So even when we have Big Ideas alumni come through our system, a lot of the times in future years, they'll come back as judges and mentors and really pass that on. So keep that as in mind as you're kind of building your venture and gaining experience. It's really valuable to pass along a lot of the knowledge you've accumulated to future student populations as well. And then something for just the student groups, I know there aren't a lot of events on campus, either here or at your individual campuses if you're not based at UC Berkeley, to get to know each other. But there are a lot of cool projects, even if you are competing with each other, within your category that you should be getting to know, that you should be learning from. And what we always say is whenever you have these kinds of academic programs, they are competitive to some extent, but in the real world, not really, right? This is the lowest risk environment that you guys can be taking, so make sure to work with each other so that when you guys are launching these things for real, you have an expanded network and you have people to kind of work with and learn from and build upon. So those are my little tips of advice into this next round. Time will fly by. Make sure to use this 7-week period to the best of your ability, and Francis will give you some tips on that as well. And also, I'd like to actually ask Daniel Rudin, who is part of our Scaling Up category, to give you just a few tips as a previous Big Ideas applicant about how to best utilize this time.
Yeah, thanks, Adrienne, and great to be here again. I was here back in 2015 in the Arts and Social Change category that we applied, went through the first stage. Big Ideas connected me with a mentor who was very much in my field, happened to be a professor at UC Davis. So he had worked on a very similar project to what we were doing, and we actually shared a lot of ideas as we went through the mentorship project. He happened to be in the field that I was working in, labor. He had a strong background in that field, and so he had a lot of detailed advice that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't been paired up with him in terms of really honing the project and making it really specific to what the idea was of dealing with labor and media. And we met on a regular basis, and I'd say he also provided some connections that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So this is a great resource. I'd say you have to really, make the most out of it. And that's really what's great about the Big Ideas competition. It really hones your grant writing skills and your critical thinking and creative skills in ways that you wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah, I'd say it's actually really great.
Thank you very much. I didn't feed him those lines in case any of you are wondering. But so I'm going to go over rules and requirements, all the really boring stuff before Francis kind of turns it over to the more interesting things. And at the end, I know some of you haven't had a chance to meet up with your mentor yet, but Francis will do a call out between the teams and the mentors that are here. And some of you requested space to have your first meeting with your mentor. So we have this entire floor in this back classroom. We're just going to do as a first come, first served kind of system. And if all the spaces are taken either in these 3 rooms, just come up and talk to one of us and we'll try to find you some extra space. So yeah, any questions about any of the material we've given you? All right, let's get started. Okay, so you guys know that you submitted a 3-page pre-proposal in November. Congratulations on making the next round. Some of the judges who read your proposal are probably in this room too. So a big thank you to them for vetting and kind of selecting this next group forward. Right now, we are in the final round at the Kickoff event. So over the next month, we're going to be giving you a bunch of different workshops and resources to kind of help you develop your full proposal. One of them, of course, is a legal entity workshop. So I know a bunch of you are thinking, should I be a nonprofit? Should I be a B corporation? Should I even look at being a company? Should I stay a student group? And because this is one of the most common questions we get with Big Ideas teams, we're going to be organizing in partnership with Startup at Berkeley Law, a workshop for all of you to help you kind of determine that. And along that same vein, if there are areas that you feel like you're particularly struggling in, please come and see one of us, one of our team members, because we do have the capacity to build out a bunch of workshops in February, and we'd like to get you as many resources as you can. So in addition to our kind of core programming, we are very open to kind of your suggestions and your needs in this next round too. But also keep in mind, you only have 7 weeks to put together a 10-page full proposal. So that's not a lot of time. A lot of what you're going to be doing is interviews and writing your proposal and meeting with your mentor. So also keep your expectations okay as well. I'd like to highlight that we're having a full proposal writing workshop. So this is basically covering all of the elements in your proposal and then kind of best practices. We did this in the pre-proposal round as well. What we're going to do is post this video up early. So of course, invite you all to attend in person, but have this as a resource that's available to you early on in the process so you can kind of focus on the nuts and bolts of implementation over the course of the 7 weeks. And then we'll have extended advising hours from all of our teams. So we'll do evening hours since I know that works better for some of you. But Francis will go into this in more detail, but you should really be using your mentorship to the best of your ability by tapping into their expertise and not necessarily having them read your proposal for flow, for clarity, for basic requirements. You can definitely come to us and we're more than happy to fill that gap for you as well. Your full proposals are due on March 7th, Wednesday. It's also there up on the board, and as you can see, our resident artists did a great job of kind of decorating our board on the bottom over there. But before your full proposals are due, we will have, again, an all-day editing blitz on the 2 days before, so you can get your proposal read by our advisors as many times as possible. And then next, so how many connected communities teams do we have in the room today? Cool. Okay, so all of you that are participating in Connected Communities, you have a mandatory poster session on April 5th. It's a Thursday from 3 to 5 in Sutarjadai Hall. For the teams that are not UC Berkeley based, we have had some teams from Davis travel and UCSF travel and come here and participate, and then we've had others Skype in to participate. But just know that there will be a pitch element within this, and this will feed into your overall score. And the reason why this category is different from others is just because of sponsor requirements. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity for our judges to get involved too, but just make sure that that's on your calendar. Then we also have our People's Choice Video Contest, which you can win up to $2,500. Hey, girls. If you submit a 2-minute video to on our Facebook platform, and then it's going to be open voting, so the video with the most amount of votes can win that $2,500. Our top teams will be invited to participate in Grand Prize Pitch Day, which you can win up to another $5,000. We usually have between 6 and 8 teams participate in it, and it's really fun. It's kind of like the culmination of the year, and even if you don't come through as one of our top winners or even a winner, we highly encourage you to come and just cheer on your fellow classmates in this competition.
And these were all things that we added to the competition because of demand from students, and also because it helps you develop the skills that you'll need when you want to implement your project. For instance, everybody's going to need that 2-minute video at some point when they're pitching their project to outside investors, incubators, accelerators, whomever. The pitch day is really the opportunity for you to hone that, that 30-second, 60-second, 2-minute pitch before a panel of prominent judges. And the award celebration features this poster session, which is another element that you will need to have to go around and market your idea. So all 3 of those I hope you will take advantage of, because they're all necessary components as you go forward. It might not be that you win the video contest, but you will use that video contest later. It might not be that you win pitch day, but you will be pitching your project all the time. So take advantage of it, please.
And we'll have a big award celebration at the end of the year just to celebrate all the work that you've put into your projects. And we'll probably do similar catering. So for any of you that really like the food tonight, we'll have a similar spread for the award celebration too. And I just really quickly like to reiterate, come see our team for advising. We love seeing you. It's the favorite part of our jobs, is hearing about your ventures and how you're doing and how you're progressing on them. So even though we're in the full proposal round and things are a lot busier, don't feel like you can't use us as a resource. If there are certain gaps in your mentorship that are not being filled, please come see us too. We can do our best to kind of support you in that manner as well. Okay, so let's talk about what's actually in your full proposal. So these are the elements that are required, and both mentors and teams should be paying close attention to this part. So the 4 elements that were in your pre-proposal carry over directly in your full proposal. You'll probably want to expand on them a little bit. If you've added a team member, if you've lost a team member, be sure to update that. Now that we're in the full proposal stage, you should have at least your core founding group kind of nailed down. And if you don't have them for some reason, just make sure to add them to your budget, which I'll get into in a little bit. But the more finalized your team is, at least for this next stage and this next deliverable, the better.
And these are the elements that you should use your judging feedback to go back and fill in. Look for those commonalities across the different judges who reviewed your proposal. They help you identify those gaps, and if it's in your proposed innovation, if it's in your need statement, those are the areas where you really want to expand in the full proposal.
Okay, so your new sections are your implementation timeline, measuring success, your budget, and then for scaling up teams, how many scaling up teams are in the room? Just 1, I think. Okay, you have a past progress section, but I will talk to you about that in just a little bit. So let's talk about your timeline. So we used to have this element in the pre-proposal, and we actually cut it out because we realized that to ask for this in mid-November when your idea is still really early stage is too premature. But now that you've got your judge feedback, you've got some input on how to develop your implementation plan, we want you to develop a timeline for implementation over the course of 1 year. So if your award is dispersed in June 2018, your implementation timeline will be summer 2018 to summer 2019. Is that clear? Measuring success. So we want you to discuss how you're going to measuring your impact. So Big Ideas is a social impact challenge. We want you to be thinking about the social impact that you're making. How are you going to be able to collect metrics in order to show that you have social impact? For those of you who are wondering, how rigorous does this methodology need to be? Do I need to run a randomized control trial in order to show impact? No, this is kind of standard M&E. We want you to think of kind of light touch metrics. Is this the number of beneficiaries that are utilizing your service? The dollars of revenue that you've acquired from implementing your product or your device? Every project will have a different kind of metric system, but we want you to begin to think about how you would go about measuring success. I see a question in the back. Oh, great question. So the question was, what is M&E? So monitoring and evaluation. Basically, what data points are you collecting throughout the implementation of your project to show that you're doing that, to show that you're successful? Like an education program for elementary school project. So you'll be measuring test scores before they enter the program versus test scores after the program. Does that make sense?
What time scale should this measurement be on?
Yeah, that is a great question. So if you're going to be implementing your program maybe towards the end of that first year, like maybe your implementation is half planning for 6 months and then implementation later, we just kind of want to know that you're beginning, what your plan is during implementation. So even if implementation is like 3 years down the road, give us a pretty rough idea of like what kind of metrics will you be collecting at baseline, and then 1 year out, 2 years out, 3 years out. And we know this is going to change over time, so we're quite flexible with it as well. Any other questions about that? Okay. And then your budget. So outline all of your expected expenses and revenues for the first year. So keep in mind that you can't win more than $10,000 from the proposal process in Big Ideas. So if for some reason your expenses surpass the $10,000 mark, you'll have a funding gap there. And if you decide to fundraise through applying to other grants or other competitions, or you are a revenue generating model where you're going to be making money, all of that should be included in your budget. But basically, we want you to outline if in your first year you're going to be spending more than $10,000, how are you going to plan to cover the costs of the rest of that?
And that, it doesn't have to be money in hand. It doesn't have to be promised in any way. If it's other competitions that you plan to apply to, if it's other sort of mechanisms like that that are softer, that's perfectly fine at this stage. We know it's still a very early stage idea, but just show us that you're thinking through those steps you would need to take to get the additional funding.
And we do have a budget template online for those of you who have never put together a budget before. And I know the link is broken. I think one team mentioned that it's broken in the handbook, so I'll be sending it out in the next few weeks to make sure you guys have that as a resource. I know for a lot of folks who have never put together a budget in their life before, this can be a little bit intimidating, so as always, come see us. We're happy to help you with that as well. Okay, any questions about that? I want us, let's cover past progress. So this is just for scaling up teams. So if you're not in scaling up, you don't need to pay attention. This is basically a direct carryover from your pre-proposal into this proposal. Keep in mind that the judges that read your proposal in the last round might not be the same ones, so they'll need to hear about your past progress too. Feel free to expand upon it if you want to add more in it because you have a 10-page allocation now. Oh, really important. So the page limit of the full proposal is 10 pages. In the past, it's been 10 to 15, but this year we're capping it at a solid 10. You don't have as much space, but feel free to use graphics, charts, illustrations, whatever you can. We thought the more condensed and clear your information is, the better for the judges. Okay. Yep.
There you go.
Do appendices count as?
Appendices do not count in the page limit, and references do not count in the page limit. But keep in mind that your judges are instructed only to read from page 1 through 10. So whatever you have in your appendices that you think is really important to the judging of your proposal, I would put it in the proposal. Any other questions? And one more thing about team bios. So we actually had a student who developed this website resource called Bear Founders approach us in the last week, and we thought it was great timing. Essentially, it's a UC Berkeley-centric website that allows startups to both register and then advertise for their needs too. So for those of you who are looking for additional team members, whether it's business, CS, some kind of developer, feel free to check out Bear Founders. There's some flyers in the back. Register your startup and then look for additional team members if you're still in the process of securing them. For everyone else who's not UC Berkeley, who is wondering if there's a resource like this on each of your campuses, there very well could be, and I would encourage you to go and look for it. And if there isn't, Bear Founders is thinking about expanding across the UC system. So maybe in 2 or 3 years, that'll be available to you as well. Okay. Anything else? All right, I'm just going to quickly go over this. So your innovation score counted for 40% in the last round. Now you're going to be judged on viability. So does your team have what it takes to implement this venture? Here's where you really can tap into your mentor's expertise. Ask them to introduce you to folks in their own network. Ask them to really give you a solid take on how viable your project is. So viability counts for 40%. Community and market familiarity for 15. So how well do you know the target population that you're serving? This is also another expansion upon your pre-proposal requirements. Potential for impact, 15. Your realistic budget, 10. Measuring success, 10. And then overall quality and creativity is another 10%. Any questions about that? Any questions from our online community? No? Okay, great. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Francis, who's going to cover mentorship best practices. And I will say, this is the first time we've had a full-time Big Idea staff member work on mentorship matches, and the amount of time and energy that he has put into your matches has been incredible. And I think you can tell from your mentor's bio. So let's just give Francis a huge hand, too.
Thanks, everyone. As Adrian mentioned, my name is Francis Gonzalez, and I'm the network manager with the Big Ideas Contest. It's really exciting to see all of you here, and really to bring together this community of mentors that represent, these veterans in the social impact space, and to see that group and this group of student teams who are really the next generation of change makers. To bring those two together, I'm just really excited to see what you guys are able to accomplish over the next 7 weeks. So I'm going to take a couple minutes now to run us through the mentorship period. We'll talk about roles and responsibilities and some best practices. So as you know, the mentorship period runs from today until March 7th when your proposals are due. And the teams were matched based on the expressed skills, needs, and technical expertise that each team was looking for. So we took what you submitted in your mentor survey and really looked through our mix of over 150 potential mentors to try and find someone that we think would be perfect for your team. And you'll see a mixture of both in-person and remote mentors. So some of you will be able to meet either on campus with your mentor, others have to rely more on Skype or phone calls. And we really haven't seen any significant difference in terms of the impact of those remote or in-person mentors. It's really about staying engaged and taking initiative with your mentor.
Yeah, as the competition has been growing over the last 11 years, we've been moving much more to a model of remote mentorships. And as Francis said, there has been no drop-off. It's all about, number one, as he mentioned, engagement. Number two, do they have the relevant skill set to help you sort of fill in the gaps of those projects? If those two components are met, the mentorship will be effective. Geographic distance, given Skype, Google Hangout, everything else, that doesn't matter anymore.
Yep. So as Adrian mentioned, we'll have several different advising sessions and workshops over the next couple weeks. You can also refer to the mentor handbook that we've sent to all of you, and some are available in the back for the key information on the contest, the judging criteria, how to work with your mentor, all those good things. And in the handbook, there is the mentorship agreement, which we ask that you fill out and send to us by February 1st. And if you have any questions or concerns at any time, feel free to reach out to our team. We'll be following up over email in the next week or so just to see how things are going. If you guys have had a chance to connect with your mentor, just kind of getting a sense of how that match is going.
And the reason we do that and the reason we have this February 1st deadline, this is another key lesson learned over the course of 10 years, is that there's a direct correlation between the teams that have successful mentorships and the teams that meet within the first week of their mentorship. If you let this drag out and you schedule your first meeting with your mentor 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out, even if you compact the schedule at that point, it's much less effective than if you gradually start working with your mentor from today through March 7th.
Yep. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the roles and responsibilities of the mentors and teams. So the mentors are expected to provide 1 to 2 hours per week of committed support to their team. And that can take a lot of different forms. It could be in-person meetings or exchanging emails, Skype calls, or maybe just reviewing the proposal on their own. And so the mentor's specific role on each team will really vary. The mentor might play more of a role of just making connections to other people in their network, or they might provide critical feedback on the project ideas, or can help you think through the judges' feedback, or think about other potential funding sources. And as a reminder for mentors, we ask that you maintain strict confidentiality about these projects. Some of them will go on to form private ventures, so please just check with your team before you share any sensitive information about their project with anyone in your network. And so both the mentors and the teams are expected to review the mentor handbook, fill out the mentorship agreement, and really go over the primary areas of concern that the team wants to focus on over the next 7 weeks. And I think a big part of making this relationship work is figuring out what the agreed form of communication will be, and setting some guidelines on what's the appropriate response time. If you send your mentor an email Friday night, are they going to respond over the weekend, or should you be looking for a response first thing Monday? That'll really come down to the preferences of both the teams and the mentors. And so really the ultimate responsibility for this relationship is on the teams. And we ask that you share and discuss the contest rules, the full proposal requirements, and the judging criteria with your mentor. They, will really be able to help you a lot better if they understand this contest and what the judges are going to be looking for, and what you need to accomplish over these next 7 weeks. So it's on you to kind of bring them up to speed at this point. And so you should also share your feedback. I know we've sent that over in an email, so they should have that, but just checking to make sure that they've looked that over and to see what kind of comments they have on the feedback that you've received so far. And teams should also really try to initiate the meeting topics. Just help your mentor understand what you're really looking for out of this, out of these next 7 weeks.
And on that last point, we have a question that came over the internet, which is it possible for my project to request a second mentor to round out the expertise our team can draw upon? To that, I would say, you've all been assigned your mentor. Get to know them, get to know their expertise and where they can support your project. If there are other areas where you need support, please call on us, because we do have this pool of, I think we had, how many mentors?
Over 150.
We had over 150,
Yeah.
and we only paired 70 of these folks. Plus, we have all these judges in our network as well, and other community members who will support projects. So if you come to us and you say you need somebody who can help us on our hardware design, or you need help on your business plan, we can find you those one-off consultations to augment your mentorship, so that you can use your mentor for their skill set, and we can augment the other expertise with the people in our network. So please come talk to us about that.
Yep. So just to take a step back, I just want to remind everyone that our mentors, are these experts who have expertise in the different areas you're looking for. They can help you, with connections and feedback, but they're also very busy professionals, and we need to be as respectful of their time as possible. And, just kind of also keep in mind that mentors are not project team members. So they're here to help guide you, help kind of steer you in the right direction, connect you with people, but they're not here to do the research for you or to write sections for you. Just kind of keep that in mind, I guess. And they're also, as Philip said, not the only source of expertise that you can reach out to. So, your mentor there will be things your mentor doesn't know, and they might be able to connect you with someone, or, it's really on you guys to be reaching out to other people in your field that maybe have specific expertise, and reach out to us as well. So if, maybe your mentor is not an expert on IP, but they're, great in all of these other ways, you can shoot us an email. We have people in our mentor pool that, we can connect you with to just have a 1 or 2 hour call, and that's kind of all you might need. So, please reach out to us if there are any mentor requests like that. So now I just want to go over a couple of the tips. And these include that teams should really take initiative, as we've said. At the end of the day, the mentorship will really be what you make of it. And you can use the mentorship worksheet to set some clear goals. We would recommend establishing the work objectives, plans, and deadlines at the beginning so that, both you and the mentor understand what the next 7 weeks will look like. Maybe you have 1 week that's midterms or something and it's going to be really crazy. You could let your mentor know that. Or if you're the mentor, maybe you're going to be traveling for work in 4 weeks, just letting your team kind of know that week you're going to be out. So setting that kind of plan at the beginning, I think, is helpful. And having regular meeting times, figuring out what communication modes work best and how you guys are going to maybe share the proposal, if it's using Google Docs or something like that, but just kind of establishing that early on. And really making sure that you've reviewed the contest rules, the criteria, and your pre-proposal feedback is helpful. And preparing for each meeting in advance, I think mentors would appreciate, if possible, receiving an agenda for a call or a meeting in advance so that they can kind of be thinking about, what they might know in that area or who they might know that they could connect you with, but just kind of showing that you've taken the time to figure out, where you need their help, and mentor can kind of jump in.
That is the most important one on this list, I think. I know college, you have your academics, you have your clubs, you have your busy social lives, but just make sure that you do something before each meeting to prepare before you meet with your mentor. An agenda is a great idea, but too often we hear about students who just walk into a meeting and start asking questions.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have a plan. You go in there with an agenda before that meeting so that you can tap your mentor's expertise. It's only an hour to 2 hours per week, so over 7 weeks we're talking 14 hours max. Use that time really, really wisely and plan.
Yep. So I think we've said this, but use your mentor's expertise. Come to us or ask them for help if there's an area that they might not have covered. And then, so these last two are really for mentors. We want you to be honest with your teams and provide constructive feedback. You can ask tough questions and challenge their assumptions. The final round judges are going to be tough, so if you're tough on them now, they'll have a better chance of winning one of our prizes, which would be great. And then the last one is that we want to ensure that the ownership stays with the team. So, the Big Ideas Contest is really here for student-initiated and student-led projects. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but in a science fair or a student or a school project, when everyone brings theirs in at the end of the year, and you see, you can really tell whose parents put together the things for them. We want to avoid that. We want to make sure that you guys are doing it. You guys have the expertise. The mentors are here to help you. So I think with that, I just wanted to open it up to some of the mentors that we have in the room to see if you guys have any tips that you would like to add to this list. Things that you've picked up either mentoring with the Big Ideas Contest or, with any other contests. So does anyone have anything they would like to share about, what's made a past mentorship work for them?
Don't hesitate to ask for information, be specific. It's really helpful to get the guidance from the teams as to how we can be helpful. I think understand that we're doing this because we want to, and so mentors who are underutilized are going to feel bad. Ones who are expected to do everything are going to feel bad, so finding that middle ground is really key.
And we have many mentors, even though this competition is really over 7 weeks, and that's the length of the mentorship commitment for Big Ideas. We have many mentors who stay on with their teams and continue to advise them after that 7-week period is, because it is so exciting for them. They do get engaged, they do get behind these projects, and they can continue that relationship as it goes forward.
Adrian, yeah.
As kind of an informal advisor to a lot of Big Ideas projects, I would also say get to know my background too. So check out my LinkedIn, stalk me, figure out what different organizations I've been in, because you never know what expertise might be relevant to your project. So really get to know your mentor and get really close to them.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Any other mentors want to share?
You can walk.
7 weeks isn't a lot of time, and some things take more than 7 weeks. Some things are going to take you all of the 7 weeks. Ask those questions now.
Yeah.
Make decisions early on when you need information by, and if you can't get that information by that time, move on. But build a schedule so that you know when you need to know what by when, and don't waste time thinking about things well past the time when you can act on it.
Yeah.
And also along those lines is the quicker you get to know your mentor's expertise and their skill sets, the quicker you know where you'll need to round out, and you can come talk to us about how to augment with another person.
Yep. Great. Any students who want to throw out things that have worked for them in past mentorship experiences? Anyone? No tips. No tips. All right, almost done. So we just have a couple other resources. These will be available on our website. You probably know most of these, but just a couple design and project management and communication resources. So, yeah. With that, you have our contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And I can go ahead and call out the mentors who are here and the team.
Has anybody come here, I guess, is there a mentor here who has not connected yet with their team? Okay.
Okay.
So that would be good to do.
Okay. I could just do those.
Or we could let them stand up.
Yeah, you want to just call out your name and team? Barry.
Is open house, right?
No,
VR, yeah.
Let's Get Social.
It's social,
Yeah.
that's right.
Katie, our campus kitchen.
Okay. Sepet? Yeah.
Oh, she's here.
Awesome.
Okay. Making connections. Anybody else? Oh, Jennifer.
Right there. All right. Anything else?
One question here.
Oh. Yes.
Okay, any last questions from Big Ideas teams? Okay, great. So we have all this space here. You probably will need to move chairs since we moved all the chairs into this room. But we have this classroom here, this classroom back here, and then feel free to huddle up over here. And then the three of us will be here for questions if you guys want to ask us anything too.
I was like, I'm gonna drink Adrian's water if I find it.
Come on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, we're still plugged in, I think. Hi. Am I? Okay, I don't know your project manager. Hello. Hi. There you go.
Hey. Yeah. Good job. I was just gonna close that. Yeah.
Price structure of your. How much money you're
Deciding whether I was gonna tell my
Did I not
science
cover
story.
that? Okay, maybe I did. So you can win $50,000 for your proposal.